Hello and welcome to the Music Metadata Channel, Season 3. The Geeky Parts. We are building a SaaS for music publishers. A general introduction is linked over there. We are documenting the whole process, though only some parts of the code will be publicly available under MIT license. It will be built in Django web framework. If you don't know what Django is, please stick to videos hosted by the ladies and Dave. This is way too technical for you. The only user interface, unless you count DRF as user interface, will be in Django admin. How this works can be seen in Django Music Publisher, the key dependency in this project. I'll call it DMP from now on. The link is in the description. We are building 3 additional tiers on top of the open source version. Why we chose such price plan is explained in the video linked, well, you know where. They are called Original, Administrator and Sub-Publisher. Never mind what those terms mean, unless you really want to know. In that case, watch any of the playlists, linked at the end. Unlike other 3 hosts, whose topics are primarily targeting potential clients, mine will be targeting techies, most notably developers. The next video will be about a custom user class in Django, as well as a custom authentication middleware. In the rest of this video, I will talk mostly about functional tests, touching upon unit testing and test-driven development. The reason why I do it now, is because you will not be able to verify any test-related claims regarding this project. Instead, I will talk about tests in DMP. DMP has full test coverage, and almost full test coverage with functional tests alone. Well, I call over 99.5% full test coverage. I will explain why there are several exceptions that are not tested towards the end of this video. This project will have the same high standards. Why? Because it saves time. A lot of it. I don't mean just testing, I specifically mean functional tests. I can readily admit that in some areas, unit tests can be as important, maybe even more important than functional tests. But not in music metadata. What are functional tests? Unit tests. Really? I need to start from scratch? Okay. I will build a model. Remember, all models are wrong, some are useful. Okay, here it goes. Let's presume that a music publishing business requires software beyond Excel. Why? That is an excellent question. It really is. The answer to this question is the core of business requirements for a project. Let us presume that our publisher wants to manage their metadata, exchange it with others, register and license works and collect and distribute royalties. This is pretty vague. We need to go deeper and describe the use cases. Let's presume that one such case would be manually entering work metadata received from a writer. It has to be validated in the process. This is still vague. We need to go technical. To fulfill the requirements for this use case, we must split it down into many small steps. One would be designing a web form, like this one. As we go deeper, the number of items to be described goes up. At some point, we know what we have to do and we make the code. We think it works. Well, maybe. Maybe not. We need to test it. We test technical specs with unit tests and we test use cases with functional tests. Yes, I know, that's why I said every model is wrong. This is an oversimplification. Where integration tests go. Are unit tests not at the bottom? The point is that you are always testing against some specs. Sure, you can add any number of levels. Every test must have its spec, and every spec should be tested. Yeah, the first level too. The test for that one is called life. Okay, back to my premise about functional tests. Well, real life is the most important test, but of the tests we can code, closer they are to real life, more important they get. There is a very practical reason for it. It's garbage. I mean, the reason is garbage data. There is so much of it, and much of it will end up going into our app. With data format specs being vague and misleading, it is hard to presume what combination of garbage you will end up with. And there will be a great pressure to get as much data in as possible. You end up using more and more real-life data in functional tests. And I am not just talking about a single import. You end up with complex scenarios. You import real data for several works, then export it as CWR. You compare it to the real one, sent to a society. Comparing requires parsing, it is never the same file. If it checks out, then you import the real-life acknowledgement file. And then the royalty statement. And compare the results with real-life data. You reuse the tests with different real-life datasets. Okay, real-world data. We are obfuscating it. We replace names, titles, IDs, etc. with hashes, and then use hashes to select substitution names, effectively resulting in human-readable hashes. In CSVs, CWRs, CRDs, Excel, etc. and use these files for tests. Ah, yes. Why not all the lines get tested? Well, because stupidity is boundless. In practice, when parsing user input, no matter how many types of exceptions you will guess, you will miss at least one. So, I recommend using one bare and broad except. In this example, we are trying to show a CWR acknowledgement file with syntax highlighting. If it fails, for any reason, we will show it without syntax highlighting. Good enough in my book. Test-driven development. Do you know the difference between theory and practice? In theory, there is no difference. In practice, however. I do like the concept, but it has never worked out for me yet. Still, for this project, we will try doing it, and see how it goes. And so will you. In Music Metadata Basics series, we are explaining basic terms. In music publishing we cover general and technical aspects. Here is a playlist about DMP and one more video we recommend. Like, share and subscribe if you like this video and want more. If you don't, hit Alt F4.